What's up, friends? How are you? Welcome back to the Matt Greer Music Channel. I am your host, Matt. So recently I had a comment on one of my videos about the Elektron Digitakt. The question was, how do I set up my patterns and everything in the Digitakt to make full advantage of song mode, or in other words, doing complete compositions, not just looping patterns, that kind of thing. And I thought, that's a pretty good idea. So that's what I'm going to do today. So if that's interesting to you, please stick around. So I've got my Digitakt set up here, and what I'm going to do is just walk through the way I've set up everything for song mode. And really what that gets down to is using a lot of different pattern slots for different parts of an arrangement of a song. But there's a strategy to it. Now, disclaimer first off, I'm not going to tell you that this is the best strategy. I don't really know. It's just the one that sort of I landed with. It kind of came up just out of need. I wasn't really thinking too hard about it. But I used it, and then I used it again, and then I used it again, and it's become kind of a go-to process. But what I'm getting at in saying it is, you don't have to use this one. In fact, I would encourage you to come up with your own method, because you'll learn more, and it will be something that it works for you. But I think what's more important is that you have a strategy, period. And because one becomes more efficient in your working, it helps you, again, learn the machine a little bit better. And I think if you find something and you stick with it, you might have more consistent and repeatable results. So this is what I do. Do how you want to do, but hopefully this will be helpful in some way. So first off, let me hit the pattern button here. These are all patterns tied to this particular song. And what I try to do is break them up into grids. So I'll add some graphics on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But 1, 2, 9, 10. These are actually all variations of a particular part of the song. So what I try to do is the top row are like the most normal versions of the pattern, something that could loop and not really seem overly dynamic or strange, or it won't have weird breakdowns. And then I have variations of the patterns on the bottom row. So pattern 1 would be a pretty consistent groove. Pattern 9 under it would be that same pattern but with changes. Pattern 3 and 11 would be the same pattern but with changes. 5, 13, 6, 14. That's kind of how I break it up, and then I put them into square chunks. So 1, 2, 9, and 10 are all variations of the same part of the song. Let's call that a bridge, whatever. 3, 4, 11, 12, which I'm not using 12 here, but if I did, those would be like the verse. This could be the chorus, and this is kind of an outlier that doesn't really fit in with anything. But that's what I've been doing, using these square 4x4 grids for different parts of the song. So let me show you. I've got kind of the main groove on number 3 here. So this is pattern 3, yep. And I'll just let this play so you can hear the whole pattern first. All right, so that real consistent. That's the roller part of the track, basically. And then I'm going to go from 3 down to 11. Let's hear this. So you can see what I mean. It's basically the same pattern but with changes. So yeah, that's one thing I would recommend doing is use groups of your available pattern slots. You might need 8 for one section. You might need 2. You might want each group to be one above the other all the way down, or you might want to use just a row and a row and a row, whatever you want to do. Break it up however you want. But again, I think it's important to have some kind of structural plan going into it, because I think it'll help your workflow and your speed with the machine and a lot of different things. Just having a plan is a good idea, right? So with music as well, because again, we're writing music. We're trying to get out of just making loops. At least I am. And that's why I had to come up with a method to help support that. So yeah, that's one thing I would recommend doing. Another tip I'll give you, or at least this is something that I found for me, I tend to generally write my songs on here with the main groove in mind first. So when I started to piece this together, I chose pattern 3 first because I knew I wanted to start with the most comprehensive, most robust main hook of the track. And I did that on pattern 3 because I knew I wanted to keep these 1, 2, 9, and 10 slots open for either an intro or something lighter than the main groove. So let me show you that real quick. So I'll go to pattern 1, and you'll hear that it's similar to pattern 3, but a little more, it's just lighter, I guess. And again, if I go right under it, I have a variation of this. So you get the idea. Now, so then over on this side, so anything after 5 or 13, this is where I've found that recently I've been doing my like B sections, so parts of the track that don't sound like the others. So just play it for you real quick so you can see what I mean. This is pattern 6. So this would be the B section of the song. I'll also acknowledge too that I shared both of these patterns on a short on my channel recently, and I asked which people liked better, pattern A or pattern B. That was pattern B. There was a lot of support for pattern B, but I did the same question on several channels of social media and Instagram, Facebook. And in the end, A ended up winning out. So A, pattern A, which is this side, that kind of the stuff you've already heard, ended up being the most of the song, with that pattern we just listened to being like the short kind of break to shift things up a little bit, but it's not used as much, put it that way. Anyway, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you to everybody who participated in that. So yeah, that's kind of my workflow. I wanted to address one other question while we're here, and that was someone was asking me, I can't remember if it was on Facebook or not, but they were like, how do you get so many sounds going at once? And this track is actually not as much of an example as maybe another, but there's a fair bit going on. And the short answer to that is just sample flipping or parameter locking different samples in the same track. Yeah, it's an 8-track groove box, but as long as you don't mind to sample flip samples within the same track, you can have many more sounds than just 8 on this thing. So I might make a whole video about that or other tips and tricks, but you know, I mean, I guess it kind of seems like obvious if you understand parameter locking, but I wanted to address that while we're here. All right, so that's basically it. I'm glad for the interest. Thank you again for the question. I hope this is helpful. If something doesn't make sense, or if you have your own method, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it, because in the end, this is just about sharing knowledge so that we can all get the most out of these devices, and we can all make good music, and yeah, we can just make the world a better place because of that. I'm gonna play out now with the whole song mode version of the track that we just heard. I'll put it on the song mode screen here so you can see it kind of scroll through the variations that you hear. But again, thank you for watching, you guys, and I'll see you next time.